Hello and welcome back to Citizen Speak. My name is Garrett Martin. I'm your host. So I want to talk about Ben Carson and how the media has been handling him as of late. Now, there's a bunch of conservative media like Fox News and Rush Limbaugh and Mark Levin who are shouting that it's unfair how he's been treated and that the liberals are being a bunch of racists and that they would have never handled Barack Obama like this, and so on and so forth. Well, let's look at why Ben Carson is underneath the microscope. So, Ben Carson, he wrote his book, and there's a lot of false things that he put in there. For instance, about him getting the scholarship to West Point. West Point doesn't have scholarships. And even the general that he said that he had dinner with, it wasn't even in the same state as him. He was actually in Washington, D.C. at that time, and nowhere around little Ben Carson. So there's a lie right there. And then there's also the story about him trying to stab his friend. I know that you probably all know the story, but for those of you who don't, Ben Carson, when he was a teenager, he has a couple of different stories of this story. In one of them, he had a camping knife, and him and his friend were arguing over a radio station. He then got upset at his friend, lunged at him with a camping knife, and the camping knife struck the friend's belt buckle, and the blade broke. He dropped it, he ran away, hid in the bathroom at his house, and that's where he found God. Now, every time that he tells this story, it's a little bit different. And not like, oh, well, the sky was blue, or no, it was actually cloudy. No, for instance, he first started telling it where it was a close friend, and then it was just a regular friend. And then it was a family member, and then it was kind of a distant family member. And then the knife. At one point, he said it was a camping knife. Another point, he said it was a switchblade, and another point he said it was a kitchen knife. I mean, if you don't want to be called out, you need to tell the truth, and that's all that there is to it. I'd expect the same from me if I were telling stories about my past on this podcast, and someone were to be doing research and they said, hey, that's not true at all, this stuff isn't true. Well, there's one thing for me to do. It's own up to it. Not cower away and call the media a bunch of racists or being biased. No, they're doing their job. The media needs to attack every single presidential candidate when they tell lies. So it's not that they're racist towards Ben Carson. Absolutely not. And you have the conservative medias who are calling the liberal medias this, and it's just simple fodder for people to get more attention. Like Mark Levin, who, how many of you know who Mark Levin is? Exactly. And then there's Rush Limbaugh, who is dwindling in support, so he's trying to find some anchor to help gain him more support and funding. And Glenn Beck, who's doing the same thing, who he's also on his way out since he doesn't really have a contract with Fox anymore. They're trying to stir up attention for their crappy shows, and that's all it is. It's just them trying to get attention. But if you look at how they treated President Obama before and after his first election, and even during his campaigning for the second election, they were downright racist about it. And they were also still on the fact that he wasn't showing his long-form birth certificate. Or even if he did show his birth certificate, it wasn't good enough for him. So they're doing the exact same thing, only what they were doing, they didn't have any proof or really solid allegations to go on to attack President Obama on. They had nothing. But with Ben Carson, he came out and he said that this was all true, and it turns out that it's full of holes and none of it's true. So the American people, we deserve better out of a presidential candidate. If Ben Carson becomes president, he needs to be telling the truth. You know, we've had far too many presidents who have lied to the American people, just flat out. And we can't have any more of that. You know, this is an age of truth. And in America, as Americans, we deserve that truth. So the attack that Ben Carson's getting is more than justified. You know, these attacks weren't coming out on him until he started opening his mouth about these stories, or until after he published his book. The only thing that actually would have came out is back in, I think it was 2009, 2010. He had an interview where he was talking about prisons. People go in there and prisons make people gay. That's how we get gay people. Or back when he was in college, he was giving a speech. I think it was college. And he was saying that the pyramids were built for storing grain and not for housing the dead bodies of the pharaohs. Those things he would have been attacked on. But then people would have screamed, "Oh no, this is religious scrutiny. You know, we're being persecuted." Baloney. You know, there's facts out there that back up what the pyramids were about, and it's not anything along those lines. So those were the things that Ben Carson would have been attacked about. But you know, those are just facts. So let me hear your thoughts. Do you think that the liberal media is being a little too aggressive on Ben Carson? Do you think that they're wrong for attacking him on his lies? Do you think that Ben Carson's telling the truth? Let me know. Either comment on the comments here, or find me on Twitter at SitSpeak, and let me know what your thoughts are. All right, thanks for listening, guys. My name is Garrett Martin. I'm your host here at Citizen Speak. Make sure that you like, comment, and share this with your friends. Thank you.